I practiced what I would say for days. My carefully picked words clunked out of my mouth, unfamiliar sounds like a rattling muffler banging against the pavement beneath a clunky car. A language unlike any of the ones I'd ever spoken. As we drove to the airport to pick up a child from half a world away, a child we'd never met, a child who had no forever family to call her own, but who would call our home her own for a month, I alternated praying and speaking over and over again my sentiments of her arrival in her language. I didn't know my insides would be all wound up together when she walked through the airport doors, because what do I know about mothering in general, let alone about mothering a tween who doesn't even speak my language. I didn't know when I saw her face, both anxious and apprehensive, that my words would morph into a tangled mess, but that nonetheless, I'd know what to do. I wrapped her in a hug, the way a mother does, and carefully spoke anyway in her language. We are so glad you are here. We caught each other's eyes as I stumbled over my words, and her lips spread into a very small smile. No one told me that the words I'd stammered, slung together in broken bits, that what I said wouldn't mean nearly as much as the fact that I tried to say them. We practiced the same sentences for days upon days, using different words and enough charades to fill an entire night's worth of game. I model all day long, day in and day out, what becomes our way of communication and learning, over-exaggerated facial expressions and tone and all. She says them over and over and over, practicing her inflection in her words with me, with my husband, with our boys. The boys watch, and we find that 6- and 4-year-olds make for some of the best new language teachers you know, because they aren't afraid to burst into laughter when a word comes out wrong, and likewise, they aren't afraid to spit out a new word in a foreign language for fear that they can't say it right. She says the same phrases over and over, a parrot on repeat, and we crumple into fits of laughter over the thoughts we put together in English. No one told us that laughter is the universal language, but after just a short week, no one needed to. We learned it on our own. Stacks of presents piled beneath the tree were enough to leave 2 little boys and our young guest with wide eyes, lost in the excitement of Christmas morning. We watched as they unwrapped all of their gifts, marveling at different ones until the floor was bare, except for a small square present for me and a small envelope addressed to Mom and Dad in a handwriting we were just learning to recognize. Our oldest son had made us a beautiful decorative plate at school, a present he was quite happy to give and one I was quite happy to receive. Not because it was anything so needed, but rather because his love comes expressed with the giving of gifts. Our boys know that a small card or a handmade present communicate love, and I'd explained the same to our host daughter earlier that week as I wrapped present after present and wrote card after card. She left the small envelope under the tree until after everyone had faded into a Christmas morning daze and gave it to us that afternoon. The inside of the card, written in English, expressed something we couldn't quite make out. We asked her what she'd written, and when she put the words into Google Translate, she burst into laughter, shaking her head, "No, no, no!" Apparently, she hadn't meant to call us military seniors. And she never did get to tell us exactly what she meant. No one else familiar with her language could figure it out either. But really, she didn't have to. A mother's heart knows those kinds of things. The days rushed into weeks, and we begged them to slow down, but time stands still for no one, not even a young girl who's set to catch a long flight back to her homeland. As the days dwindled into just a few, she picked a book to read in English before bed and snuggled next to me. The Snow Bear tells the story of a small bear who wakes from a long sleep only to find that his mother is gone, lost amid the snow. The little bear decides to build a bear of snow to keep him company while he waits, and all of his forest friends come to his aid, until their own mothers call them home. And then the little bear is left alone. The cub cuddles up against the snow bear and falls asleep. At dawn, the cub hears something, and it's then, as we come to the final page, the final sentence, that my voice cracks and tears spill onto my cheeks. It's you, he murmurs, moving closer to his mother's side. I knew you would find me. We linger on that page for a bit, and tears stream down our faces. She hugs me tight, and I hug her tight right back. No one told her the translation of the story, but there's no translation needed. A mother's heart is clearly seen. My mother's heart is clearly understood.